Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into the pretty dramatic transformation of the Chief Compliance Officer. Seriously, this is a role that has gone from the corporate back office straight into the heart of the boardroom. So to really get this, you have to see the contrast, right? The CCO of the past, well, they were often seen as just an internal rule enforcer, kind of like the business prevention department, a cost center, just focused on ticking boxes. But the modern CCO? Oh, it's a completely different ballgame. They're a strategic partner, a driver of real business value, and a champion for the company's entire culture. So what happened? What caused this massive shift? What pushed compliance from being a simple, enforcement function to an absolute strategic imperative? Well, it was basically a perfect storm of pressure. Regulations started getting way more complex. Stakeholders, from investors to customers, began demanding more accountability. And let's be honest, a string of huge corporate scandals taught some very painful and very public lessons about the real cost of getting things wrong. And here is the number that really made executives sit up and pay attention, a whopping $14.8 million. That's the staggering average cost of a single non-compliance event. And that's not just fines, It's business disruption, it's lost productivity, and it's the kind of reputational damage that can haunt a company for years. And right here, the business case just becomes undeniable. I mean, look at it. When you see that the cost of failure is nearly 3 times higher than the cost of actually being compliant, the decision to invest in a strong compliance program becomes, kind of simple, right? It's not just about dodging bullets, it's just smart business. All this new pressure didn't just change how people thought about the role. It created a massively expanded set of responsibilities for the CCO. And just how fast is this role changing? Get this, nearly 90% of compliance execs say their duties have grown significantly in just the last 3 years. Think about that. That's not a gradual shift, that's a flat-out explosion of responsibility. So where's all that growth coming from? Well, the modern CCO's world now covers things like data privacy, with huge regulations like GDPR in Europe and CCPA in California. It includes cybersecurity and the incredibly complex world of environmental, social, and governance, or ESG. The list goes on, all the way to supply chain risk and even the conduct and culture of the entire workplace. So what this all boils down to is pretty simple, and this quote really nails it. The CCO's role has expanded so much that they're now at the center of managing the entire risk landscape of the company, looking at potential threats from every possible angle. Now, with this bigger scope and strategic importance, it's really no surprise that the CCO has earned a vital seat at the executive table, becoming a true C-suite partner. And you know how you can really see this newfound influence? Look at who they report to. We're seeing a really clear trend toward independence, with 42% of CCOs now reporting directly to the CEO. That direct line, it's huge. It ensures their voice is heard, totally unfiltered, at the very highest level of the organization. As a strategic partner, the CCO is now involved in big business decisions right from the beginning. They're not just reviewing things at the end anymore. They're helping to design compliant products from scratch, they're vetting M&A deals for hidden risks, and they're giving critical advice on the risk versus reward trade-offs of new business ventures. But this role isn't just about strategy and rules. It's about something way more fundamental. It's about embedding integrity deep into a company's DNA. And that has to start with leadership. A huge part of the CCO's job is making sure executives set the right tone at the top. Because at the end of the day, a strong ethical culture is your best defense against misconduct. It's what guides employees to do the right thing even when nobody's watching. So, of course, with all this expanded influence come new hurdles. So if we look ahead, what are the key challenges and trends that are going to continue to shape the future of compliance? Well, the pressure is definitely not letting up. An overwhelming majority of CCOs say that requirements are just getting more and more complex, and they fully expect that regulatory scrutiny is going to get even more intense in the coming years. The job is absolutely getting harder, not easier. So what's keeping them up at night? Well, no surprise, 100% of them are dealing with the challenge of just keeping up with regulatory change. But beyond that, 2 other massive pain points pop up. 80% say they have inadequate resources to handle their growing mandate, and nearly 2/3 are constantly walking that tightrope of trying to support business innovation without crossing compliance lines. So what's on the horizon? A few key trends are really shaping the CCO's future. Data and analytics are becoming totally non-negotiable tools. Boards of directors are getting more directly involved. ESG is going to be fully baked into the compliance mission. And maybe the most critical one, we're going to see heightened personal liability for executives when things go wrong. So, if there's just one thing you take away from all of this, let it be this fundamental shift in perception. Compliance is no longer seen as just a cost center. Today, smart companies understand that good compliance is, quite simply, good business. It's a value driver. And this leaves us with one last thought to chew on. Think about your own organization. Is your compliance leader truly a strategic partner helping to drive growth? Or are they still just seen as a safety net? The answer to that question really says a lot about how ready a company is for the challenges ahead.